Welcome everybody to the 2020 Educator Conference presented by Buckeye Book Fair and Tri-County ESC. My name is Andrew Johnson and I'll be facilitating this session today. First off, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their afternoon and evening to join us. And I also want to encourage any of you who are in the Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar to utilize the Q&A and chat feature to ask questions. We will have some time at the end of the session today to answer those questions. So if you have questions and they pop up, go ahead and put them in there and we will get to them. Our meeting today is going to last approximately an hour. And if you are interested in earning contact hours at the end of this presentation, there will be a link and QR code that are provided at the end for you to, it'll take you to a quick survey to fill out. It's really just your name and information. And then you will get a contact hour certificate from the ESC. So I'm happy to introduce our featured presenter today. His name is David Lee Morgan, Jr.
Hey.
So David Lee Morgan Jr. is an American sports writer, author, teacher, and motivational speaker. He's known for LeBron James, Rise of a Star, and MASSILLON Tigers, 15 for 15. Morgan has worked at several newspapers, including the Warren Tribune Chronicle, the Raleigh News and Observer, the Youngstown Vindicator, the Binghamton Press and Sun Bulletin, and the Akron Beacon Journal as well. David's session today is going to focus primarily on motivating and activating readers and writers in the classroom. I'm sure, as you can tell just by David's background, that he's a teacher, so he's one of us. So with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to David, and welcome, David.
Hey, thank you. Hey, this is kind of weird, I'll be honest with you, because I thought I would see a whole bunch of people's faces and, you know, okay, there you are, so that's better.
Yeah, there's me, yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me, and I want to thank everybody. I know it's a Friday, it's a beautiful day. I haven't been outside yet, but it looks like it's a beautiful day. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing, you know, what I can with you guys. I'll share my presentation in a second. But as Andrew said, you know, my major was professional writing and editing, and my minor was journalism. So I've been in the journalism field for my entire life, as for my adult life. But I decided to go back to school because it seemed like I'd done everything in newspaper. You know, I covered high school pros or college pro. And so I wanted to do something. I love working with young people. So that's how I got into teaching. I went back and got my professional license. I went through the alternative education process and then just got my 5th year professional license this year. So I'm excited about that. So I'll share with you guys what I put together. And I just want to say this. I hope that, you know, I hope I don't offend anybody because, you know, we all teach in different ways, different styles. And I just want to share with you kind of what I do. You know, I'm not a guru like maybe some of you have been in education for years and I have not. So I don't want to come off as somebody who is, you know, this expert, you know, so I'm just going to share with you just maybe my professional experience, and it may hit on some of the topics and it may not. But if you have any questions, just please, you know, feel free to ask. So I'm going to share this now. I'm not really good at this, so I'm going to see if the share screen works. I had gone through the slides earlier, so I might have to go back to them. So you know what? I knew I was going to mess this up. Let me pull up my the PowerPoint first. I hope this works. And hold on 1 second here. Downloads here, and I apologize.
You're fine. We all have to be flexible with technology in the year 2020. So
okay, hold on. Let's see here. Because I had it up. Okay, hopefully this will be it here. Okay, enable content. I hope that works. And okay, let's go to, no, I don't think this is the right one. Are you kidding me? Hold on one second here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning, so I'll apologize for you. Okay, so now Andrew, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Your screen isn't shared though yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So just go down to that bottom where it says share screen, click the
Gotcha,
green,
gotcha. Okay,
and
and
select what. Yep,
share. Okay.
there you
Okay.
go.
What about now? Okay.
Yep, we're good now.
Okay, so. Okay, so everybody good? We good?
Yep.
Okay, so like I said, I hope hopefully I could touch on everything that you guys were expecting. If not, I still think it'll be interesting for you. So I titled this "Getting Our Students to Enjoy Reading and Writing." First, I want to thank all you guys for this opportunity to share my experience with you guys. And anytime I could do this, I love doing it. And actually, I'd love to give you guys my contact information if you ever want to share anything, or if you want me to speak outside of the classroom or anything like that. I would love to try to set something up. So, I won't go through that. Although he didn't mention this, Andrew didn't. I'm 54. I have 7 kids. I have 4 from a previous marriage. My wife has 3, so we have 7. And there she is right there. It's kind of funny. I hope I don't offend anybody, but my kids are biracial and hers are biracial, so we call each other the biracial Brady Bunch because we have 9 people in the family. So there is a picture of me and LeBron. I love this picture. This is my daughter, Brooke. She's an NBC page. She just started this last November, so she works on the Today Show, SNL, and I love it because she's able to give me like tips of what's the best skits that are coming, the sketches that are coming up on a Wednesday when they do dress rehearsal. It was kind of fun. So that's my newest book, The Massin Tigers 15 for 15. And this book came about last year, just before the season started. Our running backs coach he got a job at John Carroll University as a grad assistant. So the head coach here, Nate Moore, he called me. It was the day before our first scrimmage against Avon and said, "Hey, Coach Morgan, what would you think about coaching the running backs?" And I said, "I've never played football in high school. I mean, well, I played up until my sophomore year." And I said, I can't coach. I played baseball in college. I'm a basketball and baseball guy. And he said, don't worry about it. We just need you. The kids know you. So I just knew that I was going to write a book about this experience because I knew it was going to be one and done. And that's LeBron James, The Rise of a Star. This book came out in 2003, and this is probably this. I'm so proud of this book because in 2005 it was selected at the American Library Association's national conference in Boston as one of the top picks for reluctant readers. And this book was released in 2003, but it's still selling well because kids love to read it. And I have a curriculum to go along with that that's going to be coming out next year. So I'll just move on. So activating and engaging our kids. So, we all know how important reading is, especially, at an early age. So I just wanted to share some of the things that I tell my students on a regular basis because, my major was professional writing and editing through the English department at YSU. And I always tell my kids, I was a marginal student in high school. I went to Warren Harding and I played all 3 sports. I was smart, but I just didn't apply myself. And I tell them I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be an English major and author of 11 books. I would have never thought that. So I explained to them, hey, if I could do it, you guys could do it. I also tell them this, if you don't like to read, read things you like, then read the heck out of it. For example, like if you like comic books, then read the heck out of comic books. If you like anime or scary stories, for me, I like magazines. I like short stories. And that's just my personality, I guess. I mean, like, I love sitcoms. I like short things. I want a beginning, middle, end. Okay, give me another. But I know other people love to read, they love fiction, science fiction, all that. But I just try to tell the kids, if you don't like to read what you like, and then just read it until you just read the heck out of it. And I also tell them this, because you guys probably know, and I talked about this earlier, I teach, high school, so I don't know what it's like to teach in elementary, to 3 through 8, because I know that's the level we were talking about. But what I try to tell my kids is this. I said, when you get a piece of literature or whatever piece we're reading, especially if it's fiction, engage yourself, if there's dialogue, try to read it, even in your brain, read the dialogue section like you're acting. And invest in the piece, like invest in it, because like movies, they'll pick up as it goes along. So at the beginning they drag along because the author is trying to set up, the setting. The author is setting up the exposition, all of that. So it's going to drag at the beginning just until everything's introduced, and then usually good writing starts to pick up. This is more from a writing standpoint, and I may be jumping around a little bit, but I also explain to them that, to be a good writer, you have to read a lot. I mean, that's just, you guys all know that, most writers aren't just people who just, for the most part, they don't just start writing. You have to learn the language. So, they have to read first. But I always tell them, in any class or any part of their life, they've got to understand the concept of, you got to fill your white space. And I tell them that all the time. Even when I give them an assignment, if it's on paper, naturally we're doing digital things on Google Classroom, but they could fill their white space on on Google Classroom. And what it is this. So whenever these kids, like, let's say they have, they're applying for a job at Giant Eagle or somewhere, especially seniors, they'll have the regular name, date, all their, stuff you like, all this kind of stuff, your address. But then invariably, somewhere on that piece of paper, whether it's the bottom or on the back, it's going to say something like, tell us about yourself. And that white space is going to determine whether they get that job or if they get that $500 scholarship for books, how they fill that white space. And I try to explain to them, don't be afraid of that white space, because it's going to be the difference between the job and not, money or not. So that's what I try to teach them. I'm going to take you through just really quickly, I guess. So what I do, so every day, I just want to kind of give you a brief kind of breakdown of how I would, do my day. I teach English 10 for 3 periods, or mods, we call them. And then I'm the journalism instructor, and I teach journalism. So we put out our school newspaper digitally. And then I teach senior writing workshop. So it's like a creative writing workshop. So what we do is, for English 10, I'll do quote of the day, pun of the day, and then we'll do this exercise called one word, and then we'll go into whatever topic we're doing. So this week we did actively learn and no reading. They're learning grammar, but it could be like the Rear Window, or, we could be doing the lottery, Shirley Jackson. It just depends on what we're doing for that unit. So basically, so when the kids come in, they'll see the quote of the day. So inspirational, or something that we could discuss for like a minute. So like, for instance, I usually do 1 a day, but I'm going to give you 3. So here's one that we did a while back. It's so this will come up on my whiteboard. It'll say, work so hard that one day your signature will be called an autograph. And I always look around to see how the kids react, and they're like, oh yeah. And then we'll just break it down. What does that mean? Well, it means, work hard so that you could be the next Lady Gaga or LeBron James, because it doesn't happen overnight. It's all the work that you put in. So then eventually you will. And then I explain to them how, when I go to book signings like the Buckeye Book Fair and I sign an autograph, I worked hard to do that, and I'm very humbled by it. But I explained to them that that's what it's all about, all the hard work that you put in. Here's another one. I love this, especially for sophomores and the younger kids. Don't judge me by my past. I don't live there anymore. And you see the rear view window. So a lot of the kids will nod their heads and they'll look at each other, and not to be sexist or anything, but a lot of the girls will shake their heads because at least here there's some of the kids are involved in drama, and so they'll all shake their head or laugh or say or you're right, Mr. Morgan. So I love giving these. And then the next one is, I love this one right here because they won't get it until I explained it a couple times. And this one is, if you can't change the people around you, then change the people around you. And they'll look at me dumbfounded, and I'll say, if you can't change the people around you, then change the people around you. And then I'll do it a third time, and I'll wave my hands in the area where someone's sitting, and I'll say, if you can't change the people around you, then change the people around you. And then they get it, and they love it. They eat it up because it makes sense to them, and it's relative to them. They can all relate to it. So then we do pun of the day. And this is when they roll their eyes because they're gonna hate it, but then they love it. And they'll come back the next day and say, Mr. Morgan, I told that pun to my mom and she just fell on the floor. But here's the one for a day last week. I don't know a lot about magic, but I got a couple tricks up my sleeve, and the kids love it. I know it's corny, but the kids love them. So then we'll go into our whatever lesson. But before that, we'll go to this exercise. It's called One Word, and it's a writing exercise, and it's literally 60 seconds, and the kids love it. So I usually have it set up already in Google Classroom. So when they come in, they'll go to Google Classroom, and then what'll happen is there'll be a little table with a word in there. And they'll have 60 seconds to just write whatever comes to mind when they think of that word. And it doesn't matter how they write it. It could be a list, but I typically ask them, just write a story or just write whatever comes to mind. And so what I do is so for instance, the word last week was leaves. So I'll give them 5 seconds to let it marinate in, and they'll think about it. And then I have a co-teacher because I have a lot of kids on IEPs. So he'll keep the time and he'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then the kids will start writing. And then he'll count 15. And then he'll count 30. He'll count 45. And then we'll say, wrap it up, make sure you're at, and then stop. And then they'll share that on Google Classroom. And then what we'll do is we'll pull them up on the board and we'll read some of them, because I think for them to become better writers, they have to see how they're writing and how sentences are structured, because it helps them understand it a little bit better, because they speak differently than they write. I mean, we know that. So this one right here, this was a student, leaves. I love when fall comes because the leaves change colors and are really pretty. Leaves are crunchy, colorful, and not edible unless you're weird and you eat leaves, which is fine, but you should probably look into counseling. See, this is funny. It's great. She used a lot of, alliteration right there, and it was descriptive. The kids get better and better because they'll see others write, and then they'll say, "Oh, I could do that." So then every day they want to be better and better. They get more creative. They have more fun with it. Even the kids that don't like to write, they start to write better, and they start to write more, even if they haven't written before, because they see that it's fun. They're not being graded because they made a mistake. Now, as we do this more and more, I'll let them know, okay, let's write clean now. Even if you write shorter, I'd rather you have 1 or 2 or 3 sentences that are clean than a full sentence or a full paragraph that has all the red squiggly lines and all of that. So the kids they'll get in the habit of trying to write clean. Are you guys, everybody good?
Yep, we did have one quick question. So the question was,
please interrupt anytime.
yeah, where do you find your pun of the day material?
That's great.
Or are you just like super funny on your own?
No. That's a great question. What I do is I'll go to pun of the day. There's just a website, I'll just type in puns of the day, and there's a link that. So what I'll do is I'll find the pun, and then I have to put together the slides. It takes a while. So like the magician one, I'll just type in picture of a magician. And then I will, I do like pick stitch, or what's the other one I use? I can't remember what it's called. But I have to create those slides.
Okay.
It takes, it's a little work. It might take 15 minutes to do it, but I've done them for so long that I just reuse them every year because I have a new group of kids come in every year.
Right.
So I don't have to, I don't have to do them over again. But the kids love them. Yeah. So, okay. And please, you could interrupt if at any time, because I'm going to try to get through these. Okay. So here's the other one, couch. So, so this is a funny one. This is one of the low level kids, but it says, when I go home, I am going to the couch and laying down and taking my after school nap, because them after school naps be hitting different. Yeah, I love this. Got to have the AC on with a fan and a blanket. Then you'll be out in a good 3 minutes until 6 o'clock at night tonight. And this is a perfect example of why we put it on the board, because, we teach, this is a dependent clause. So when you have a dependent clause that starts a sentence, you need a comma. So when I go home, comma, and as we slowly show them how their writing looks, they'll start to realize, oh, I need to fix a lot of this. And so that's why we put them on the board. And we don't do this to make fun of any of them. Naturally, we're not doing that at all. We just want to show them what they're writing so they could fix it. So now the next thing I'm going to show you, I think this is very interesting, because I teach the hero's journey when we do writing, especially with character development and how kids can invent characters and develop the characters. This is only 3 minutes, but I want you, when you watch this, think about every movie that you watch, especially The Wizard of Oz and especially The Hunger Games, and how all of those movies, there's a formula that screenwriters and writers are taught in school, and this is the formula. So I'm going to start it for you guys.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock. Treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock. Result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock. Return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock. New life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock. Resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock. Status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo?
Okay, I hope I do this right. Just give me a second here. Can't remember how to get out of here. Okay, there we go. Okay, you guys still with me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm almost done here.
What did Harry Potter?
Okay, there we go. So I use the hero's journey when we there's a unit we do with the hero's journey, and I drew my niece. She drew these characters, but I did all of this here. So the circle, and then the same thing. You know, where you live, where you journey to. That's the ordinary world. This is the special world. So we talk about how characters go through that, like how you could even talk about. I did this here. Actually, I'll get through these here and I'll show you what I did here. So that's, and then we talk about the story elements and how a character develops, and you hear that in film and all that kind of stuff, the character development. The characters develop by going through those heroes' journey, from the exposition to the rising action, climax, and all that. So, and then that's what it is. So that's what we show them. And then I talk about, when you create a character, make that person normal, because they're going to go through some things every day and then become a better person at the end of the day. So for instance, so like Dorothy's journey, I'll go through it really quick. There, let me get out of here. Let's see, exit. You guys might need to help me here so I can get back to you. I don't know how to get back.
Actually, you're good if you just continue, if you just hit present, because we can see your presentation still.
Okay, I want to get out of that because I'm done.
Okay.
I just want to see you guys. So let me try to get out of here.
You can also, if you go to share screen, that green button at the bottom, and you click it, you can stop sharing your screen then.
Oh, gotcha. That's right. Okay. You good there?
Yep.
Okay. So this is we were talking about the Wizard of Oz. So just real quick, I want to try to go through just really, really quick. So 1 o'clock, Dorothy, her call to adventure is, she, nobody's paying attention to her. Everybody's doing the work on the farm. So she starts singing, somewhere over the rainbow, and then she runs away. So her assistance, 2 o'clock assistance is, she runs away. She meets the guy, the wizard, basically, who is in that trailer, but a big wind comes. He says, you better get home. Your Aunt Em is missing you. So then she gets home. She can't get in. She can't get in the basement. So she goes in the house. Then she goes in her bedroom. The house is swirling around and it stops. And it's quiet. And then she walks through and she opens the door and it's all in color. Now she's left her ordinary world. She's in her special world. And then her trials, she's trying to get and she gets assistance again from Glenda and the Scarecrow and all of them. And then basically her whole trial and the approach and the crisis is she's got to get to the castle to get the broomstick. So she kills the witch. She accidentally kills the witch. And then the treasure, 7 o'clock, the treasure is, she says, can I have the broomstick? That's the treasure. Okay, the result is she's able to meet the wizard because he wanted that broomstick. Okay, and then he tells her how she could get back to Kansas. So she clicks her heels 3 times. And then when she does that, the film goes back into color. Black and white. She's home. It's a new life. Okay, the resolution, everything's tied up. And then at the end, it's the famous 5 words, there's no place like home. So her whole journey was to realize that there's no place like home. So that's what we do. So what we'll do is we do the same thing with my kids, character development, so that they could kind of have a character develop throughout the course of whatever they're writing. But the last thing is, and then I'll take questions. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Just I don't want to hold you here. And
no, you're good. You're good. You're perfect. Don't worry.
Okay. I know I was showing Julia this earlier. She said, "Well, how does this relate to like kids every day?" And I said, our kids go through a hero's journey every day. And I wrote this because they'll usually get their own after we teach them. They have to fill out everything. But like I basically said, okay. Let's say in a normal everyday life, these kids go through their hero's journey. So let's say 12 o'clock, they get up. 1 o'clock, their call to adventure is they've got a math test, a geometry test. Okay, 2 o'clock, the assistants, mom helped her study, helping her study in the car. And the mom's taking her, you're gonna do this, honey. You've got it, we've studied all night. So then mom gets to the school, gives her a kiss, drops her off. She departs her ordinary world, her home life, and school is her special world. Okay, 4 o'clock, the trials, people bothering her every mod. There's distractions. 5 o'clock, the approach, the period before the test, all that, that anxiety. 6 o'clock, the crisis, walks in, the teacher like Ferris Bueller, here's your test, like that. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, she takes the test. 6 o'clock, she takes the test. 7 o'clock, she aces it. That's the treasure. The result, 8 o'clock, she gets a better grade. 9 o'clock, school's over. Mom picks her up. She leaves the special world. She goes back into the ordinary world. 10 o'clock, it's a new life. She feels better about herself. She's proud. She feels good. 11 o'clock, the resolution. Loose ends are tied up. Her grade is bumped up now. Her grade is bumped up, and now instead of a 89, she's got a 92 in this class now. And so at 12 o'clock, she's a better math student than what she was when she started the day. So that's, and then guess what? The hero's journey starts again. And we all go through all of that. So those are the things that we kind of do in my class. I try to teach kids writing every day. So we do those 1-word exercises. I try to engage them in reading by trying to invest in and try to put themselves in stories that they can. I just saw somebody's, maybe I can see it, but maybe I don't want to do anything. But I think somebody had a question about fictional, nonfiction and fiction.
Yeah, I can read the question for you here. So it's how do you make nonfiction or informational reading and writing engaging?
Yeah, that's a good question because we're doing that now. We're doing nonfiction reading right now. Basically, I just try to always put my kids into some of the stories that we're reading with nonfiction. Like for instance, we're doing actively learning, and there was a piece about how COVID has changed their everyday lives, and has there been silver linings, so to speak. So before we would even get into any of that, I try to get them to understand what silver linings means, looking for the positive. And then I just try to make them try to relate what the piece is to how they can relate to it. What is the theme? And then how can you relate to it? That's the easiest way that I try to get them to understand. Okay, what's the theme? The theme is, Things could be better, things could be worse. Okay, then how can you relate to that? Well, you know, I can't go outside, but our parents, we've done a lot more together, just things like that. We did one lesson last year on, it was informational text on cigarettes or vaping and cell phones. And so I try to get them to understand, you know, how can you relate to that? Well, I hope you can't relate to vaping, but I try to get them to understand what's the connection. Well, they both are addictive. Okay, now tell me, can you relate to that? Well, yeah, I'm addicted to cookies or this or that. So that's how I try to get them to really get into nonfiction and informational text when, you know, really there's no dialogue.
Okay. So it sounds like to me a big part of, and this is just an observation from listening and watching you, it sounds like a big part of motivating your students is the fact that you're able to develop a positive relationship with them.
Yeah.
And you also show that you're invested in like their learning. And as a result, the kids tend to maybe meet you halfway because they might not be interested in writing. And you do a good job too with those one word sentences. I thought that was a really interesting use of time in your classroom. First off, your lessons are organized and very efficient, which I think kids tend to, they may not act like they like that routine, but that's what's best for them.
Yeah.
But then those one word sentences, it's a great combination of putting quality over quantity, but at the same time developing that writing stamina in kids, because it's an expectation that every day you're going to write something, but it's not necessarily going to be a 5-paragraph essay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. You know, they know when they come in that they're going to have one word. And so, you know, I tell them, you know, like lots of times with writing, the biggest problem that they have sometimes with one word is there's no parameters for them. So, and because there's no parameters, then they don't know what to write because they just panic. You know, typically, you know, when you're in English class, okay, they say, okay, here, you've got to write this thesis statement. Your first paragraph, it has to be a thesis. You know, your 3 points. Okay, now the second paragraph, you're going to support that point. Third paragraph, you know, you're going to do all of these, and then you're going to conclude it and then wrap it up. Well, when you say, okay, here's you, just write, they panic a little bit. But I just tell them, just write. The only way you could fail this assignment is if you don't write anything. So just write so that you have some kind of content that we could now start working from. But if you don't give us any content, then we can't help you understand why that sentence doesn't look right and how we could fix it. You know, so, and they do love the one words because I pick the words myself, and I try to pick fun words like couch, crunchy, fluffy, because then the kids that usually don't want to participate, they always want to write about fluffy stuff or crunchy stuff. And then at least I could get them to want to start participating instead of having their head down. You know, they kind of want to start, and that one word starts the beginning of the class. So now that they've already started working, so now they can't put their head down because we've already started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then do you use any other sites or resources to make reading and writing more engaging? The question came from the fact that the participant noticed that you use no red ink. And so they were just interested in learning a little bit more about any other instructional tools that you utilize.
Yeah, I was wondering, the person who had that question, do they use no red ink? Because sometimes it feels like, you know, because we're using it here, I don't know if other districts or other teachers are using it. Like we use Common Lit a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's familiar to some of the teachers out there, but no red ink. I like it and I don't because sometimes I just don't like to assign no red ink and then just say, okay, here it is, do the practice, look at the lesson, and then do the practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because back in the day, you know, we used to teach grammar. I mean, grammar was a unit, you know, so there are days when I'll just say, okay, look, we're going to do independent clauses for the next 2 or 3 days while we do the other work. But instead of them just working on no red ink by themselves, I'll put up examples and kind of teach it more from a traditional.
Explicitly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's great on a Friday because we do no red ink every week, Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday they'll have their quiz.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do it more explicitly, they are ready for it on Friday.
Right.
But no red ink helps. I mean, because it keeps them busy and they stay on it because they feel good when they get 3 in a row. They move on to another level, so they get excited. But they get very frustrated if they can't get that third one. You know.
Yeah, there's a very fine line that technology that we have to that we as educators kind of tote with technology, and you know, on one side of it, it's great because it really reduces the amount of prep work that we have.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it too, we can see some of the drawbacks, and that, you know, you can't really get the same quality.
Yeah.
If the students are just completing the assignments inside of the program, which I think that's a pretty obvious statement, and it's more appropriate now than it probably ever has been.
Yeah.
But you know, tech definitely has a place, and I think that how you explain you use it is a great example of that. Is, you know, you implement it every day, but then you also really take it to the next level by explicitly teaching it as like a whole group, you know, lesson or small group lesson maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what I'll do is, like, for independent clauses, because kids still, you know, they'll still think that a dependent clause sounds like it stands by itself when it doesn't. So then so sometimes I'll just leave an independent clause up there, which, you know, is basically just a sentence that makes sense and has a subject and a verb. I'll put that up there, and then I'll put a dependent clause, and I'll just leave it up there. And I'll say, so if they're struggling on something, I'll say, look, does it sound like this independent clause? Does it make sense? Yeah, okay. So then I'm like, oh, okay. So, and then they'll continue on their no red ink, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do things like that. But like you said, it's a different environment now. So we've got to rely on that for safety reasons. So it is what it is. And so we just can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have another question, and it's regarding, because you mentioned earlier that your LeBron James Rise of a Star book, you're going to be releasing some curriculum for that.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about what that whole curriculum will entail and how it could be utilized in maybe like middle school classrooms?
Yeah, we're working on that. There's a gentleman that I work with. He has his doctorate, and he's in our English department. And I had been thinking about this for years. And so we're putting it together now because we're trying to align it with the standards, different standards. I'm putting together lesson plans, and then that will fit the standards. And we're trying to do it for middle school and high school, you know, we're thinking from 7 through 12. I've never done anything like this before. So it's challenging because, you know, it's still got to follow the Common Core, you know, all of the alignments. But you know, the lesson plans I'm using, you know, we're going to have graphic organizers. We're going to have writing prompts. There's going to be assessments, quizzes, all of that. Stories from me knowing LeBron, and the challenge though is just how to pull that content and that material and make it into lessons that school districts will adopt and want to use. And that's where my colleague is really helping me out, because I've never done anything like this before. I mean, I've got the material and I've got lesson plans, or I'll do just mini lessons from it, because we'll watch the film. It's called More Than a Game. And it's the film based on LeBron's, upbringing. And so we'll watch that film, and then I'll come up with questions and basically mini lessons for them to answer. And that's what we're going to put together. So, we'll have it for next year, but he's doing a lot of the alignment for me, because that's just not my expertise.
Right. So that you're looking at sometime maybe next year.
Oh, it'll be definitely, we'll have it. Yeah, it'll be definitely ready for the fall of 2021, the school year of 21-22.
Right. Cool. Wonderful. Great. Yeah, we're definitely interested. So keep us updated on that.
Yeah, and what I love, I mean, honestly, the thing I love about that book is, if you go to Amazon and you look at a lot of the reviews, there are a lot of teachers who use it as required reading for summer break, where they have students write book reports. And that's when I realized that, there's something out there, because if the kids are that interested, and then this was maybe, over the course of the year since LeBron's been playing, I mean, he's become a completely different person in just outside of basketball, with the schools, the I Promise schools, and a lot of things that he's doing, just outside of basketball, that's really important, that I think people would love to hear about and read about.
Right. So after kids have read your book, what discussions have you seen fostered from that reading, that process of going through, explicitly teaching with your book?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I love to discuss is, this book is about, it's not just about basketball, because if you look at LeBron's life, his dad wasn't in his life, and his mom had him when she was 16. So we always talk about themes and relatability. How can you relate to that? Well, so, especially at our school, there are a lot of kids who are the fathers aren't in the picture. There are a lot of kids who play sports, AAU and others, there are a lot of kids who are affluent, who live in the Jackson area, and a lot of kids who live here in the MASSILLON area, who you would think would never become teammates, but through basketball, they become teammates, and they learn about each other's cultures, and they learn about brotherhood or sisterhood. So there's so many lessons, life lessons throughout that book that kids can relate to, whether you're Black or white, or, you've come from a low-income household, or, affluent household, whether you're in the city or the country. Those kind of stories that they're in that book, and kids can relate to it. So that's what we're trying to pull out of that. One of the things too in that book is, I remember LeBron in April of his senior year. So he hadn't even graduated from school yet. It was April, and Nike, Reebok, and Adidas were trying to, woo him to sign. And I remember this, if you go all throughout Akron area, Nike bought billboards kind of saying, hey, LeBron, come to us. And Reebok would counter on the other side of town, LeBron, come to us. So I remember it was in April, I think, and LeBron signed a $90 million contract with Nike. He decided to go with Nike. And then he signed I think it was a $10 million contract with Sprite. So in a matter of 2 or 3 days, LeBron was a $100 million man. Now, think about that, and that's probably one of the writing prompts that we had was, okay, you're in high school, you're a senior, it's April. You come to school the next day after signing a $90 million contract, and your buddy goes, "Hey, LeBron, man, what'd you do last night?" I played PlayStation, and oh, I signed a $90 million contract with Nike. And now you're in American government, and you're going to the lunchroom, and you're going through the line, and they say, "Okay, LeBron, that's $450," and you just signed a $90 million contract with Nike. I mean, how do you handle that? How do you stay humble? We have discussions like that. You know, what do you do? How do you remain humble? What's going to make you hungry now?
Right.
You know, so we have those kind of discussions. Who would you share that with? You know, I remember Ralph Nader sent a letter to LeBron and said, "Hey, you know, now with that responsibility, you know, maybe you should turn some of that money away because, you know, Nike uses sweatshops." And how do you handle that as an 18-year-old kid having a letter from Ralph Nader basically saying, "Hey, you know, rethink that," you know?
Right.
So, you know, those are some of the things that we discussed from the book and from the movie.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we are, I don't see any more questions coming in. I don't know if do you have anything in addition? I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to present this information to us, share kind of your process and your background. It was very educational. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. I love it. I mean, anytime I could do anything like this, I love doing it. I'm very fortunate. I feel fortunate. I mean, I get to go to high school every day. I mean, every day there's something different. You know, the kids come in, they're complaining about something that you're thinking, "Wow, really? Your mom gave you strawberry Pop-Tart instead of blueberry? Now that's how you're going to start your day?" So yeah, so it's great. And I appreciate all that you guys do, because reading and writing and literacy is so important. So my pleasure to help out.
Well, thank you very much. So I went ahead and commandeered the screen again. To everyone who participated, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to attend. My contact information is on the screen. Buckeye Book Fairs, the website URL, and Tri-County ESC's website URL is on the screen as also. And if you are interested in contacting Buckeye Book Fair, you can use buckeyebookfair@gmail.com. For your professional development certificate hours. Let me go back here. So you can either scan the QR code that is on the screen currently, or you can follow the link at the just above it. So I will leave that on the screen for a little bit of time here. You will, when you go to the form, you'll just fill out the form. You will receive an email that has your certificate within, just a few minutes of completion of that form. So, and we will, if you completed this session, we will have sessions all week next week as well, Monday through Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. So if you attend every session, that'll get you six contact hours, which I know is always helpful, especially whenever we need to recertify and that sort of thing. So
sounds good.
And last but not least, I want to thank Buckeye Book Fair and all of Buckeye Book Fair's sponsors for making this possible. So we hope you all have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you.